Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust. So today we're going to take a look at a kind of a review slash comparison between two firearms that I've been wanting to give you guys kind of this overview of both, because obviously Walther, in my opinion, made a great gun when they came out with the PPQ. This, in my opinion, kind of caused the revolution for striker fired handguns to just get better, trigger wise, ergonomic wise, you name it. And to me, the PPQ really, in my opinion, opened that door, paved the road, so to speak, for all these other strikers that are coming out now that look great, feel great, and shoot great. Now, of course, with everything else, Walther will always advance itself just like every other manufacturer, with maybe except Glock. But at the same time, they came out with the PDP. Now, I've owned a PDP, and this is my PDP F. I actually prefer the F over the PDP. Talk a little bit about why that is in the video. But when I do a comparison between the two of these amazing firearms, one of the things I'm going to tell you right now is that this PPQ does not fall on its face by any stretch of the imagination when it comes to ergonomics, trigger, shootability, you name it. So we're going to take a look at the table to discuss overviews of both of these handguns. And at the end, I'll kind of talk a little bit to all of you about why I think if you have a PPQ, you don't necessarily need a PDP. However, if you don't have a PPQ and you're looking at Walther, then yes, maybe you should jump and get that PDP. In my opinion, it should be the PDP F, but that's just my opinion. So let's get to the table. Again, at the end of the video, leave some comments down below, thumbs up, share the video, and please subscribe if you have not. So let's go to the table. Hey guys, welcome back to the table. And on the table, you see two fantastic firearms, the PPQ and the PDP. Now, this is the PDP F, so it's not exactly a perfect comparison between the two. The regular PDP, in my opinion, is a much, much closer comparison to the PPQ than this one, only because, as you guys know, the grip on this is a lot slimmer. It's a lot more up and down versus having the big hump in the back. And also, the trigger reach on this particular model is shorter than the regular PPQ or PDP for that matter. But for the sake of arguments, we're going to use this as our comparison anyway. Now, for those of you who don't know, the PPQ's days are numbered. This is no longer being made by Walther, unfortunately. But I would say that this is kind of the revolutionary firearm that, in my opinion, began it all for every great striker-fired gun that we now know. This came out, and the trigger was next to none. The ergonomics were next to none. And the gun was just ultra, ultra reliable. I mean, I've owned 4 PPQs. And I've shot thousands of rounds through them. And I'm going to tell you, not one time have I ever had one single malfunction. So reliability has never been an issue with this particular firearm. I mean, it's just amazing quality, just great overall. Now, of course, as everybody knows, people and companies tend to evolve over time. And that evolution came in the form of a PDP. Now, of course, PDP, PDP-F in this case. But one of the things that Walther tried to do with their marketing was trying to convince you that this was leaps and bounds above anything they've ever presented. And I don't know if I really agree with that, to be honest with you. So first off, when you look at the PDP versus the PPQ, and I'll get these squared up, and then I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what I'm talking about a little bit closer. But as you guys can see, you've got the PPQ on the left and you've got the PDP on the right. Now, interestingly enough, the PPQ just seems like it's a little bit rounder. It doesn't seem as blocky or squared. And I kind of like that. I like the design of that. And I kind of wish Walther would have gone more to this than kind of create this major blocky slide just so they can have super, super deep serrations on their slides. Now, you'll also notice that the piece of polymer in the back, I always had a complaint about the Walther PPQ that if they would just shave this down a little bit, they might be able to actually bring the slide closer to your hand. Well, unfortunately, they didn't listen to that. I don't blame them, but they didn't listen. And you could see you still have almost like this ginormous piece of plastic that sits right underneath your slide. And again, your hand is going to fit right underneath this. And instead of them just kind of like beveling this, it's just one big solid square with a slight arch up as opposed to the PPQ, which is much more rounded. Regarding the slide thickness, you guys can see from the front. Let me see if I can hold these up here. So you can see the thickness. The thickness of the PDP is, some people say it's an illusion. I definitely don't agree with that. I think you have a blockier slide. Yes, you have deep serrations, but I also think those deep serrations came at the cost of the size of the slide. Because they wanted to cut them so deep, they had to make the slide blocky. So as a result, you have these amazing slide cuts, but at the same time, you also have a really blocky slide. Again, you could see that the PPQ is a little bit narrower, or at least it appears to be. And I would say that even holding it in the hands, while you don't really feel a significant difference between the two, one of the things I definitely can feel is that this piece of polymer is definitely hitting my thumb knuckle on that hand, whereas the PPQ does not. And that's one of the things that I'd have to say I didn't like about my original PDP, was that it just didn't feel like it was as ergonomically friendly to me as the PPQ. Again, it's just my opinion. Yours may vary. Now, one of the improvements that Walther also did on this was obviously the texturing. So if you look at this texturing up close, you can see that it's almost like, I want to say it's almost like hexagonal. I guess that's a good way of saying it. But it's very, very grippy. It doesn't really have like a sandpaper texturing, but when you put your hand on it, it really, really bites into the hand very well. You don't have really much movement at all when you're shooting it. And for me, I think that's a huge, huge advantage when it comes to this gun versus the original, which of course, the PPQ, while it did have some interesting texturing on its grip, and you could see that almost like these little swirls, it's pretty good. I mean, it still is pretty good. Like, I've never experienced any slipping on this gun, but I definitely would say that the PDP has it over this type of texturing right here. Again, another advantage that the PDP has is the optic cut slide. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go out and get your PPQ cut for an optic. And actually, I think it would be better because, unfortunately, once again, we see a manufacturer going with slide plates or optic plates. Not a fan. You know, unfortunately for me, I'm looking for guns that go right from the optic to the slide. I just think you're going to get a better connection with the gun. It sits a little bit lower, even though it's minuscule. It's still a little bit lower. And to me, that's important. But again, that's just my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours. I mean, overall, you've got the optic cut. You also have the grip, but the trigger. So they claim that this trigger is so much better than anything else that they've ever created. I don't agree with that. I mean, I think this trigger is excellent. It's no doubt this is an excellent trigger. But is it as good as the PPQ? I mean, I think it's on par with the PPQ. So again, you can see your trigger pull right there. Now, keep in mind, it's the PDP-F, so it's a little bit shorter than the regular PDP. But you've got your wall right there. And then just a really nice break. Here's your reset. There's your reset, super short. The one thing that I would say is improved on this reset is that it's not as forceful forward as the PPQs were out of the box. So you don't have that real heavy spring pushing you forward like you do on the PPQ. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't really feel much different to me. Now, obviously, this PPQ is a little bit different because it does have an apex trigger in it, but you can see that's about your take up. If this was the real PPQ, the take up would be a little bit longer, but the break would still be fantastic. And then the reset, super short, but also the PPQ is super short. The only difference that I found in the Apex versus the PPQ was the Apex is a little bit more controllable. It's just not as forceful forward. Now, one of the other things that the PDP tried to kind of sell on you guys and everybody was that the way they designed the grip with this little lip at the bottom, that somehow it allows you to get faster on target with your optic if you put pressure on that area. Now, MD Polo did a video on the P99, that also is going away, but he did a video on that and he addressed it and he was spot on when he said what he said. And I totally agree with that. You know, the P99 had basically the same grip angle as the PPQ. The PPQ has pretty much the same grip angle as the regular PDP. And that lip is, as you guys can see, that lip is on the PPQ. It's on the P99, it's on the PDP. My God, it's even on the PPX, if you remember that thing. And it's also on the Creed, if you guys remember that one as well. So this is nothing new for Walther. And I just think that was a bit of marketing ploy for people to believe it, or at least believe the hype. I mean, overall, both guns are really, really good. You know, in my opinion, if you have a PPQ and you're thinking about going to get a PDP, I wouldn't do it. I think this gun is absolutely amazing still. I don't really think that this is leaps and bounds above it. However, if you have a PPQ and you're looking at the PDP-F, then I'd get the PDP-F. I think the PDP-F's grip shape is just a little bit more user-friendly without this little hump in the back. And I do love the way this gun feels and fires. This gun actually shoots a little bit softer than a PPQ, although it's not much. I mean, they're both pretty flippy, but I would say the PDP-F has a little less flip, so to speak. But if it's a regular PDP, I wouldn't do it because I think the PPQ still holds its own. However, if you don't have a PPQ and you're looking to get a Walther, well, you can go out and get a cheap PPQ if you want, or you can go out and get yourself a PDP and experience it for yourself. Overall, both great guns, both super reliable. I have to say that I think as a long-term pistol, both will do very, very good for anybody who owns them. You know, again, there are some little weird things here and there about both, but at the end of the day, I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I mean, for me right now, I'd actually choose the PDP F only because of the grip shape, and it just seems to feel a little bit more comfortable with this going a little further behind my hand. So that's just my opinion. But again, the PPQ is still an amazing gun, and it's kind of a shame to see it go. So I hope you guys leave some comments down below. Again, I'm hoping you guys are enjoying these videos that I'm putting out, and I hope you have a great night. Stay safe, and as always, everyone, freedom is never free.